We're going to start off the day with part of our Defending Democracy project that Elizabeth Yang has spearheaded for our section, and enjoy perfecting democracy Jeopardy. Thanks, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Jennifer, for your kind remarks. My name is Juan Thomas. I have the honor of serving as chair of the ABA Civil Rights and Social Justice section this bar year. I'm from Chicago.
Yay.
Where we
Sorry.
vote
Boo.
twice and often.
Go Bulls!
No, but seriously, I'm an of-counsel partner at Quintairos, Prieto, Wood & Boyer in the Labor and Employment Group, and glad to be here out in Portland. I have the honor this morning of co-moderating this panel with my friend, Elizabeth Yang, and I'm going to introduce the panel, then turn it over to Elizabeth to run the show. Good morning, and hopefully everybody had a good breakfast and got their coffee and or tea. Good morning. Good morning. As I mentioned, I'm co-chairing or co-moderating this panel with Elizabeth Yang. Elizabeth is the founder and president of W Strong LLC, a strategic business consulting and coaching firm dedicated to solving problems, meeting challenges, and building teams. She's committed to building diversity, coalitions, and bridges through education, civility, and respect, one step at a time. She believes that when we create opportunities to have open conversations, we can see our starting points, discover our commonalities, and begin to work together. Please welcome Elizabeth Yang. Bill Creasy is the commissioner of the Chicago Board of Elections in Chicago. He's also the associate professor in the College of Business of Governor State University in University Park, Illinois, where he teaches research found focusing on fraud examination, auditing, and business law. He's also the CEO and professor of Professor Fraud LLC, a firm dedicated to educating the public about fraud. We're glad he's in Chicago.
I'm always busy.
That's right, that's right. Please welcome Bill Creasy. Also, please welcome Jason County. Leads his firm's political firm's political law section. His practice is focused on government ethics, including the election, lobbying, disclosure, conflicts of interest, gift and gratuity, and campaign finance laws, federal, state, and local government. He's also the chair of the ABA Standing Committee on Election Law. Please welcome Jason County. And last but not least, please welcome Holly Welch, who serves as the Senior Assistant Attorney General in the Tort Employment Unit for the state of Wyoming's Attorney General's Office. She was raised in, is it Cody? Cody, Wyoming, where she graduated at Cody High School's 100th graduating class, the Centennial class. Congratulations. She attended the University of Wyoming both for her BA in marketing and her law degree. She's practiced law around the state and currently, like I mentioned, works in the AG's office. And she serves as the ABA YLD Administrative Director for the 2021-22 term as the young lawyer, Wyoming young lawyer delegate to the American Bar Association's House of Delegates. Please welcome Holly Welch. And now I'll turn the program back over to my friend Elizabeth Yang.
Thank you, Juan, for those kind introductions, and thank you everyone for joining us. We're really excited to put on this program for you, and so I'll just give you a little background. This program, Perfecting Democracy, is really about how we want to let you all know as young lawyers, as law students, as legal professionals, what you can do to sort of help perfect democracy and help the process work better. So we've put together an interesting Jeopardy format to make it a little more interactive and show you sort of the different ways you can help and to learn a little about how elections are run in this country. So without further ado, let's start perfecting democracy. These are our topics today. Things that start with P, Jerry what? To vote or not to vote? Vote like you're in Oregon? Everyone's voice matters? And finally, lawyers as change makers. And Juan has already given you a great introduction of our panelists, so we'll just move on to Jeopardy. So let the games begin. So it's this, as you'll see, this is basically like the Jeopardy format. Oh, I guess we'll have to decide how do you decide who goes first in Jeopardy?
Yeah, that's right.
No, but to start, oh, right, but someone has to start by picking the question.
There we go.
Okay, all right, Holly, go first.
Holly,
So,
you're the
Holly,
only
you
one
get to
wearing
make
a
the first.
sash, so
Sorry.
you go first. That's right.
I'm going to pick gerrymandering.
Okay, wait. Okay, so
There we go.
yeah, there you go.
Jerry, what? For how much?
Thank you.
I'm going to do Jerry what for 100, please.
Okay. I'll just let finish. Thank you, Juan. I have discovered from running this that it is very difficult for me to see who raises their hand, so Juan is going to call who he sees hand go up first. All right, let's start. Jerry, what for 100? Not good. Sorry.
Here it comes. Oh, no.
Sorry. No,
What
I'm
is
trying
check
to fix
the
it on
input
my
terminal?
end. No, I'm trying to fix it on my end first.
There we go. We can.
This is a good time to mention that we have not been provided these questions beforehand, so
right.
we're answering them live as well.
Speak for yourself, Holly.
Did you get the questions, Bill?
Remember, he does forensic work.
They call me Professor Fraud for a reason, you know.
I do believe a fraud investigation is warranted right now.
I'm going to file a petition with
I was specifically
Attorney
told I
General.
was not going to be given the questions, so.
You didn't get the questions. It's the answers.
They call that the Chicago way.
That's the
I think.
Chicago way, yeah. So, anyone want to learn about Chicago? Okay. We have, okay, here, while we're waiting,
Ad-lib.
how many precincts, election precincts, do we have in the city of Chicago?
565.
565 is over here. Anyone else over here? Come on, throw out a number. Too many. Okay, anyone else? Pardon? 2,069. Until this November. We just had legislation. We're reducing it to now, 1,250, which I think is still more than the city of New York, which has 3 times the population. So, plus we have early voting, and we've got vote by mail. About 50% of our people vote one or the other. Interesting, early voting in Illinois is supposed to, the legislation says open 40 days before the election. Yeah, we're still fighting who's going to be on the ballot, But so it's been considered, as long as we have it up, I think it's like 23 days before, it's more of a suggestion. Sort of like on the picture on a frozen food, it's serving suggestion, 40 days. And that's because, anybody want to know why it's 40 days? Because
I was thinking to say the same thing.
no, it was actually a mistake. It was supposed to be 14, and they wrote it down wrong. And it was one of those 500-page bills that they introduced the last day of the legislative session, and it was 40. Somebody typed it up 40, and it was like, well, all in favor? All right. Okay, let's leave. Because they're in Springfield, Illinois. They want to leave. And it stuck. So we're stuck with 40 days. A question over here.
Has anybody ever wanted to change their vote after early voting?
Yes. Do we let them? No. It's like, too bad, we already processed it, yeah. But we follow the votes all the way through. You know, people can, if they sign up, they can get text messages or emails like, yes, we mailed out your ballot. Yes, we got it in. You know, and then fortunately, Illinois, we can start processing the votes before Election Day. You know.
We're ready.
Oh, we're ready.
All right.
All right, I'll
All
shut
right,
up.
apologies for the technology glitch. So, to be fair, the minute it goes in, the question's going to be up. So raise your hand when you think you know the answer. What is gerrymandering? Anyone know the answer?
Raise your hand.
Oh, I see. I see.
Okay.
It doesn't look-
Well, shouldn't I answer in the form of a question? Well, in any event, what is the process by which you draw district lines so as to, in general, maximize the opportunity for one particular political party to win over another?
All right, let's see if your answer is right. Exactly. The process of drawing political boundaries in a manner
He
which
has
gives
seen these.
Judge. Giving myself away.
Yeah, you need to be a little more subtle next time. All right, so Bill gets 100 points. And now, Bill, you get to pick the
Oh,
question.
well, let's just go with gerrymandering for 200.
All
Jerry
right.
what?
Jerry what? All right, let's go. What is packing? Jason.
So when you're gerrymandering, there are different ways you can move voters around, and you can pack voters in one district for an advantage by race or any other measurement.
Correct. So, Jason, you get 200 points.
Ooh.
All right, Jason.
Lawyers as change makers for 300.
Ooh, mixing it up.
Whoa, you wild man, you.
Yeah.
All right, what is the Election Protection Project?
Okay. I know enough about this one maybe to get it right or wrong. The different sections and different groups at the ABA are doing projects. The Election Protection Project is the Civil Rights and Social Justice Project for involvement of lawyers in this next election. Is that close enough?
It's pretty.
No.
No.
Oh.
It's a
It tells you you're wrong.
it's a project by which we
Oh.
protect elections.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
answer my
actually-
students would give me.
All right, so the Election Protection Project is a nonpartisan coalition of national, state, and local organizations. So it's not just within the ABA. The ABA does support the Election Protection Project through the section on civil rights and social justice. And so this project is committed to ensuring that all eligible voters have the right to vote and that their votes are counted. And this covers all aspects of the voting process, including voter registration, early voting, mail-in voting, and voting in person in Election Day. And I'd also like to share, I think you'll have little cards around the table. The section on civil rights and social justice does have an initiative called Perfecting Democracy.
There's a P in it.
Exactly. Does have a program called Perfecting Democracy, and if you want to sign up there and you're interested in working, we will connect you with various programs in the Election Protection Project. So, unfortunately, no one gets any points for that, but Jason, you get the next question.
Well, I'll be less aggressive. How about lawyers as change makers 100?
Okay, let's try that. I want to help ensure voting rights for all, but I don't have any electional experience. Does that matter? Holly.
I'm going to say that no. There are many organizations that you can volunteer with that you can provide assistance without any experience.
And you are correct. So you just need the drive to make a difference, and we'll take care of the rest. So lawyers and law students possess certain skill sets that can be useful in perfecting democracy. And again, if you look at the little hand cards at your table, visit ambar.org, Perfecting Democracy, to sign up and make a difference. So,
Holly, get the pick.
Okay.
Like it's 100. And then, Holly, you get the next question.
I'm going to do to vote or not to vote for 300.
All right, mix it up again. So, can election audits positively affect voter participation? Commissioner Creasy.
Okay. There was actually some academic research into this recently and found that if you polled Americans and asked if elections were audited regularly, 40% said they would vote more frequently if that occurred.
And the answer is you're correct. Polling shows that election audits can positively bolster the public's perception of the integrity of the electoral process, thereby increasing voter participation.
Okay, you want to give away the secret?
Go ahead.
The polling, the study I'm referring to, I did it.
It's
It also asked if
legitimate,
it was
though.
pay
It's
an
a
auditor.
source.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But what's also another aspect of that study, it showed that over 67% of voters would have greater confidence in elections if they were regularly audited, especially by independent CPAs. So, anyway, back to you.
Feedback cycle, so you're feeling
Actually, Bill, it's back to you.
Oh, I get the
Yeah,
pick.
you get to pick.
I get to pick. Oh, hey, because of where we are, let's go, and we're doing the 300. So let's go for vote like you're in Oregon, or is it Oregon?
Oregon.
Yeah, I had to get that right. For 300.
All right. By what date must a mail ballot be returned to be counted?
In Oregon.
What is election day?
Oh, I'm sorry. Right.
I would think.
So actually, it depends, right? Some states require receipt by election day. Others may have a prescribed, because we're not talking.
I thought we were talking about Oregon.
Yeah.
Oregon.
It's not if you're. It's vote like you're in Oregon. So it's just mail voting, right?
I would think
Sorry.
that, yeah, a postmark would
Yeah.
also be
Depends
considered.
on the state.
Right,
Depends
yeah.
on the-
Yeah.
Okay.
It has to be in mail in Chicago, in Illinois. It has to be in the mail on election day, but we
But in-
accept them up to 14 days later.
Yeah, in
usually there's a
Wyoming, we
cutoff.
still have like the Pony Express, so
Yeah.
we
2 months after.
6 months later.
the postmark becomes very important in a lot of things.
So, wait, who
Oh, I
who's
get
answer?
to
You
I get to
choose
pick
again.
again. Okay. Even though I got it wrong,
No, you got it wrong.
I think-
Okay.
You can get it right or wrong.
that's a. And go back to the board.
That's true.
Did he get the question right or wrong?
No, I got it wrong.
Okay, you got it
Everyone
wrong.
got
All
it
right,
wrong.
Let's move on.
Okay. Let's go with things that start with P. Oh, inappropriate answers to that. Things that start with for 300.
All right. What are poll taxes?
A terrible legacy of the past. Paying to have to vote.
Yes. A form of voter suppression is a part of Jim Crow laws, which required certain individuals to pay a tax in order to vote, and exceptions were made for poor white males whose ancestors had voted in the past. So, Jason. Next question.
All right. Well, let's try everyone's voice matters for 100.
All right. Can you vote if the polls have closed?
Yes, if you are in line waiting to vote at the time the polls close.
And you are correct. No, if you'd not arrived prior to the closing time, but yes, if you're already in line to vote.
All right.
All right, Bill?
Okay. Well, let's kick it up a notch, as they say. Let's go with things that start with the letter P for 500.
All right. What is poll worker ESQ?
I've got to do this one. I got it totally wrong before, but I at least know our standing committee on election law program. Poll Worker Esquire is a program launched by our former chair with the National Association of Secretaries of State to get lawyers, not just election lawyers, just lawyers working as poll workers. Sometimes those are called poll judges. different than poll watchers, different than those challenging, just working at the polls.
And you would be correct. Thank goodness.
Yeah, I had to get that one right.
So Poll Worker ESQ is a joint initiative between the ABA, NAS, which is the National Association of Secretary of States, and NASA, the National Association of State Election Law Directors, to encourage lawyers, law students, and other legal professionals to assist in upcoming elections by serving as poll workers. And if you're interested in learning more about that, please visit ambar.org/vote.
And please do.
Yes.
We need
Seriously, tell your friends. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, just as a sort of a backstory on this is part of why the Section on State and Local Government Law has started an initiative called Defending Democracy, because what we have seen, as you all have seen in the past couple of election cycles, we have people like Bill who, have largely administered elections, just by doing their job and really just with little to no fanfare or publicity, and we are seeing an alarming trend of threats towards poll workers. And what we are also seeing is, as people report back that they've had these threats, there's a serious fear of attrition as these new elections come forward, as people are reluctant to do what they've done, because it's not just themselves but their families that are receiving threats. So that's a huge reason why the Section on State and Local Government Law has created this a new initiative. So.
And now that Elizabeth has scared everyone in the room away, no, but I'll tell you one thing. You might think you know how elections work. Until you really get in it and see how it works, you don't. And I love getting lawyers to work in the polls because they see how the mechanics work, and then they go out and they tell their friends, and usually lawyers are considered respected in the community, and you tell them, no, they're not cheating, they're not, it's not fraud, and all the controls they have in place are great. So I love having lawyers, and you will learn so much, and then you'll want to join the section and get more involved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm really sorry. I just made a mistake. I just gave Jason's points to Bill. So
Oh, well, thank you, Jason. I appreciate that.
that kind of game.
sorry.
You're also welcome at any time to give someone
Points.
else's
Okay,
points
yeah.
to me.
I got confused because
Well, Elizabeth, you got us on a roll, so I'm going to
Yeah.
make a California comment while you're fixing that, is that security issue. California is now, I think, among a dozen or so states. Just last week, the governor signed legislation that protects the addresses of election workers.
Oh, that's great. That's
just
wonderful.
Like you were DA. Yeah.
Luckily, the program allowed me to fix it. Sorry, Bill.
Wow.
And so, Jason, you have the right amount of points.
All
now.
they give me is a big badge.
Much more impressive.
I get free donuts. No,
That's reason enough.
Now that we understand the category, I'm going to go for vote like you're in Oregon for 100.
Ah.
Yeah, it's a more national.
it's-
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. For 100?
For 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do Oregonians vote?
Incorrectly.
I would. I'm going to go
I
ahead and
think
say.
I'm going to let Holly answer that
I was
question.
just, let me get some points, guys. I would say both in person and by mail.
Actually, Oregon is the first state to institute
Yes.
statewide vote by mail only election.
Oh, by
Yeah.
mail only.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
Mail
do get that
only.
wrong, but
So there we go.
I guess you
right?
still get the camaraderie at the drop-off boxes that you would in the poll lines.
Okay.
Holly, why don't
Thank
you?
you.
Holly,
For the participation points. I will take
Exactly.
them.
all right, Holly, why don't you take
Holly,
the next
please.
question?
I'm going to go for Everyone's Voice Matters for 200.
All right. Let's see. The question is, what happens if I make a mistake while I am filling out my ballot?
Oh, I'm also going to go for this one.
Did you see who?
I was about to say, Bill, I'm sure will embellish my answer, but I'm going to say that I can ask for another ballot if I'm voting by mail, or in states other than Oregon, and voting in person, that I can ask for assistance at the voting booth.
Yeah, if you're voting in person, yeah,
Oh.
just go up and say, hey, I'd like a new ballot.
Yes.
If
so
it's a
you-
paper, if it's a machine, yeah, just say, hey, help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Before
Correct,
you turn
correct.
it in.
Yeah,
Once
right,
it goes
yeah,
in the
yeah,
machine,
yeah, right,
too
right, yeah,
bad.
once you hit
Yeah.
vote,
Yeah.
you're done.
I think
Once
some
you
juris-
vote, congratulations, you voted. You're stuck.
I think some jurisdictions might make that become a provisional ballot that gets counted separately, but I don't know to keep an eye on.
Different jurisdictions have different rules. Some will say, okay, we'll destroy that ballot, we'll give
Yeah.
you a provisional or something along those lines, yeah.
All right.
But once you get that sticker that says, I voted, it's over.
It's time to take your selfie.
There you go.
All right, Holly, next question for you again.
I'm going to go with to vote or not to vote for 200, please.
All right. How does lack of equity, representation, and accessibility affect the electoral process?
Negatively. Oh, sorry. I did not raise my hand.
No,
That's to
sorry.
vote.
Oh, I raised the. First, you follow the rules, Holly. The,
By not having the answers in advance, yes.
I would say negatively, because I'll just look at the accessibility, and this again from Chicago, where we have so many precincts. We're working with the feds right now, making sure that all of our polling places are accessible to the disabled, and it's a huge chore, but we get. We're working with an organization that helps us out with this, and it's great. And we're doing all we can. We've got a temporary polling place inside Cook County Jail. So detainees who are being held for trial, they all, we have a polling place there that they can vote. And I'll tell you, the looks on the faces of the detainees that come in their, sweats or whatever, or their, the prison outfit, the jail outfit, and they get to vote in their own voting booth. I mean, it's just incredible. So, I don't know, there's my long-winded answer. I'm a professor. What do you expect?
And I'll make a pitch on our committee. We did a program this last year on voting in the disability community. And let me throw out the problem and potential solution here. The problem is that while we all think of mail-in balloting as more accessible to many in the disabled community, it is not. They count on being able to come into the voting booth and for assistance. So voting actually decreased in many jurisdictions. One potential solution to that out of Hawaii, which had already started this path before the pandemic, was voting at home on a truly accessible interactive system that worked well for them in the election, and they saw disabled voting go up. So it's, everything has unintended consequences, and we have to think through. Mail-in balloting has opened a lot of doors, but closed some doors too.
No, that's
And the
very true.
technology is really helping out in that regard.
So I think, Bill, you have the answer correct. So,
Oh, yay, I get points.
I think you should get points for that.
Yay,
Because
good
I'm not
points.
going to look that up. Detainees can vote in
Yeah,
Wyoming.
that-
I'm not sure if they can.
right. So while
I
many
don't
people
think
vote
that-
in
that
order to
far.
have their voices heard, many people do not vote because they do not believe their voice will be heard or because there are too many barriers to voting. So it's really important that we have programs like this and get people involved to let people understand how important it is to vote and or how we can help eradicate some of the barriers to voting. So,
All right.
Bill, next
right.
question is yours.
Oh, big money, big money. Let's go with lawyers as making change. I'll give you 2 tens for a 20. For 500.
All right. What can I do to make sure that my congressional district is drawn fairly?
Okay. Get involved. Different in very different jurisdictions. There are some jurisdictions like my state of California where a redistricting commission draws these barriers or these lines, and so you could testify in front of that commission or whatnot. But every state does it a little differently.
All right. And you are correct. As a lawyer or even a law student in your community, you're a leader, and you can help your clients in your community draw maps. You can testify before redistricting bodies, and you can help redistricting organizations in their efforts to better reform the system. So again, you really don't need to have redistricting experience to help make a difference if you want to get involved in your community.
Gave you 500.
All right, Jason?
Everybody's voice matters for 400.
All right. When you are at the polling place and are told that you are not registered to vote, do you have a right to vote?
Depends on the jurisdiction. In Illinois, for example, you have same-day registration, where you can register that day, you show appropriate identification, which is the only time in Illinois you need to show ID, and you can register and vote that day. But depends on the jurisdiction.
Yes. So you generally have a right to vote a provisional ballot, which will be set aside and counted after your registration has been confirmed. And interesting to note, Idaho, Minnesota, and New Hampshire do not have provisional balloting, but they are states that have same-day registration. So I think that's why. So, and then you have, as Bill mentioned, there are states that offer both same-day registration and provisional
Oh,
balloting.
we have a provisional as well. Okay.
All right, Bill, next question is yours.
Okay. To vote or not to vote for $500.
All right. Trying to catch up to Jason.
That's right.
What is the average distance some people must travel to vote from their home?
I'm going to go for it. Absolute guess, but I'm going to say 10 miles.
So the interesting thing is that's actually not, it's not incorrect because it really depends on the precinct. So some voters vote within a 5-minute or less walk to their polling places. But then you have there's the other extreme where some voters who live in extremely rural, remote areas or on Native American reservations where they have to drive upwards of 100 miles to vote or just to retrieve their mail. So what we know in the United States is it's certainly not a one-size-fits-all way of administering elections, and even within the same state, neighboring jurisdictions can have different needs and different budgets. So it's sort of hodgepodge there.
Well, I know Holly gave sort of the Wyoming answer, 10 miles.
We are a very we have a lot of land
Yeah.
and not a lot of people. So
Chicago, it's like 3 blocks, if that long.
But that last point is a really important point.
Yeah.
At another program we did, we focused on Native American voting and mail-in ballot. Same theme. You'd think mail-in balloting would be welcome as expansion, but for many of those communities that don't have traditional addresses and
Right.
are forced to go a longer distance to voting polling areas in Arizona, for example,
Right.
It had a negative effect.
Can you explain, is this an issue of, the federal government not for the state government not permitting tribal governments to run the election, or is it the reservation is so big you have to go somewhere all the way across the reservation to where the polling place is? You have to, let me rephrase.
Yeah.
You have to leave the reservation to vote, or is it the reservation so expansive it's still a problem?
No, you have to leave the reservation to vote because it's a state-run system. And so,
reservations are not state run.
that's right.
Oh, thanks. Hi. So now you can hear me commandeer the CLE. So then, because it's state-run, can you explain why there hasn't been federal legislation that requires states to partner with the tribes to administer the election?
There's been litigation on the topic, but not yet federal legislation. Although there's a federal act from, I don't know enough. There has been federal legislation in the past, but not enough to make a difference. And there's currently litigation.
Right. The Estelle, Estelle, do you have the answer?
Yeah, one of the recent Supreme Court cases called Bernovich came from Arizona and came from advocacy groups.
Yeah.
Came from advocacy groups for Native Americans, and it was, not surprisingly to me, all wrong. Included no recognition of the fact that many Native Americans have to travel long, long distance to mail a letter. And they bundle, or they tried to bundle with one family member collecting everybody's ballots and, on the block or on, whatever. They don't have blocks. And taking them, and that's now unconstitutional. So yeah, there's a lot of recognition of their particular problems. In my view, it's not being resolved in a way that's particularly supportive to them.
Who complained about them bundling the ballots and sending one? Tam was gonna.
I think that's the state of Arizona,
Oh, okay.
I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, Spencer, I think also, Jason's looking at, there is the Native American Rights Foundation has testified numerous times before Congress, and they've been very involved in putting together legislation acknowledging the issues that the Native American community faces. And we're trying to figure out exactly where it is in the pipeline, but I think it's an issue that has certainly grown as far as the public is concerned. We know, a couple of years ago, just the whole issue of, as Jason mentioned earlier, Native American reservations not having traditional mailing addresses, which were prohibiting them from voter registration. So,
Yeah, I think there's pending federal legislation. I don't think it's.
yes. So our hope is that now the issue has been raised, that it will be addressed appropriately.
I just loved how his answer or his question started out. Can you explain how why there hasn't been legislation to work that? How much time do you have to explain how the legislatures work? Okay.
Juan told us we can't be partisan, though. That's
Yeah, I know. We're not. This goes to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to give Holly points for 10 miles?
Yes,
Yes.
we are.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yes,
Yes,
we are.
We are.
And
We are.
Holly gets the pick.
Yes, Holly.
To vote or not to vote for 400, please.
All right. What is the average time given to employees as time off to vote? Oh, Holly.
1 hour. I'm going for what I get at my office.
Oh. So it varies among states, but generally it's in a 2 to 3 hour range. And we still hear of 3 to 6 hour waiting periods for voting, and that obviously doesn't, the 2 to 3 hours that you get off doesn't include time driving to and from polling places. So what we do find as an accessibility issue is there are some people in professions where 2 to 3 hours just really isn't enough time, or they honestly can't afford the time if they work for an employer that does not give time off to vote, so they are unable to vote.
Not to mention hourly workers.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So it's
You
difficult.
can't afford to take 6 hours off when
No.
that's your entire day of
Guys,
working.
Right, and some of those hourly positions may not even give you, an hour or the 2 to 3 hours off. So,
And very often there's restrictions, like in Illinois, you have to ask for it like a week in advance or days in advance and get approved for it. Or we do what we've just done in Illinois and make Election Day a state holiday. And
Which, retail workers never get
Yeah,
off.
they never
and
get off
Food
anyhow.
service workers never get off. And
Someone's got to be at the 7-Eleven so I get my Mountain Dew.
yeah.
But there's where the law needs to catch up with the practice, because one statistic I've seen is corporate America actually has moved in the direction of providing more time off. But those are large corporations, so the disparity there is with you're a small company,
right.
you may be with a S&P 500 company that gives you any time you want to vote, or not.
right, and the reality is also, probably 10 years ago now, there was a bipartisan presidential commission who said that really no one should wait more than 30 minutes to vote. And, there are some places, I'll fully admit, I live in Great Falls, Virginia, in Fairfax County, which is, one of the, I've come to find out is the, third most affluent county in the nation. I don't wait that long to vote. And it's just, but, I lived in Arlington, which is just next door and is fairly affluent itself. I, at those times, waited up to 3 hours to vote, and I was voting in the building next door to where I lived.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is the struggle with election administration, as Bill can point out. So, part of it is it's a budget issue because state and local elections are administered at the state and local level, and then the budgets vary. And unfortunately, as Jason and Bill can attest to, regrettably, elections are still one of the most underfunded portions of our government. So, you know,
Yeah, and on that point, though, we try our best, but even in Chicago, we'll have on election day sub-precincts where, you know, they say you could, you know, fire a cannon and not hit anyone, you know, because everyone in that precinct voted early or voted by mail, or, you know, a huge majority of them. And others where we've got the lines, and sometimes, and it changes from election to election, so we have standby judges that we can send out when we hear, oh, this place has got a long line, so we can send people out. But it's hard to figure out exactly where that's going to happen, despite our best efforts. So.
okay. Holly, do you want to do the next question?
I'll go ahead and choose vote like you're in Oregon for 200.
All right. If I receive my ballot in the mail, do I have to return my ballot via mail as well?
No. I'm told Oregon also has drop boxes.
Yes. So most states, with the exception of Mississippi and Tennessee, allow for non-mail methods of ballot return, including but not limited to ballot drop boxes, early voting, election day locations, and registrar's offices on or before election day. So,
One of the most controversial versions of this, very different in the states, is what's called ballot harvesting. That is allowing other people to collect and turn in your ballots. And sometimes that's not allowed, and sometimes that's allowed.
Yeah,
Correct.
there's the controversy for disabled people, right? That it's
And elderly.
and elderly. That yeah, it's actually a barrier to being able to vote at all.
Yeah.
If you can't physically bring your own ballot.
Was
to
it
the
a few
drop-off
years ago in
box.
California, some of the parties set up their
yes.
own collection boxes?
Yes, in
Yeah.
gun stores and other places, yeah.
That's right. There you go. Okay.
all right, Bill.
I got that one. So I'm going to go with Jerry What for 500.
All right. How does the U.S. Census affect redistricting?
We can't do any redistricting until we get those census numbers, which is what threw everything off last time, because that tells us almost by block, you know, where people live, and then we have the population number, so we can divide up a state by congressional district, a state by, you know, Senate and representative district, or city of Chicago into 50 different wards. But it all depends on getting that data from our folks, our friends, at the U.S. Department of Commerce Division of Census.
Yes. So the U.S. Census Bureau provides the 50 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico with population counts to use in their redrawing of congressional and state legislative district boundaries.
Ooh, tied with Jason. Okay, here we go.
All right.
All right. Let's vote like you're in Oregon for 500.
All right. What is third party or community ballot collection?
Well, that's sort of legal ballot harvesting, where you allow others to collect a bunch of ballots and bring them in.
That is correct. So that is the practice of allowing designated organizations, election officials, community members, or family to deliver signed and sealed ballots to election officials. But as Jason pointed out, the practice is allowed in some states and prohibited in others. And I think to Spencer's point about voting, there are very often Native American communities where the mail or the election office might be, 100 or 200, 250 miles away. It's really not practical for every single member to go do that. So they will have someone who goes and collects all the mail and then also return it. And then the point that Holly and Jason raised earlier is if you have members of senior communities or people with disabilities, this is a way where if they're unable to personally return the ballots themselves, there are ways that they can officially do it that way.
Something Holly would appreciate, having been a marketing major, just the terminology. Community collection sounds nice. Ballot
yeah.
harvesting.
Yeah.
The language we're picking here is communicates a lot.
Give me my points.
Oh, now it's getting interesting.
Let's see. Things that start with the letter P for 400.
All right. What is pre-clearance? Jason.
Here we go. So pre-clearance was a process under the Federal Voting Rights Act where certain jurisdictions with a history of unfair practices in elections had to pre-clear any change in their election laws. That was struck down by the Supreme Court.
Correct. So Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act was the pre-clearance section, and in that areas with a history of voting discrimination and low turnout had to submit and receive approval from the Department of Justice for any voting changes, including redistricting, before implementing the change. In 2013, this provision was invalidated by Shelby County v. Holder, and the court took an interesting route. In this one, it did not expressly declare Section 5 unconstitutional, but instead what it did was it found that the coverage formula used to determine the jurisdictions covered by Section 5 was outdated, and thus what they did was they left the enforcement mechanism with no teeth. So it, yes. Juan.
That's a very lawyer answer.
Yeah.
Could you kind of share with us the impact of that since 2013?
Huge impact because those jurisdictions, and they were all over the country, but a lot in the South and in California and elsewhere, those voting laws had been updated and very hard to change because there was a whole practice of, if a jurisdiction wanted to make the change, they'd have to go through the Department of Justice and really justify it. With that gone, a lot of those jurisdictions have been very free to change their election laws, so they have, and in many cases made them more restrictive without any pre-clearance requirement. So there are other avenues to challenge those laws, but less effective than Section 5.
It's always through litigation.
Exactly. They can
Right.
sue on other grounds, but as we've seen, yeah.
After the change has
Yes.
been made, yeah.
The idea of pre-clearance was to protect the process before. Yeah.
All right. Jason, next question is yours.
Ooh, it's getting
We'll give
close.
Bill a chance. Everyone's voice matters for 500.
All right.
Ooh, okay, here we go.
Can I bring someone into the polls with me
Yes.
to help
Oh.
me?
I don't know. I think I saw Holly.
Holly had her hand up first.
Yes.
I get too excited.
Yes. Under federal law, voters with limited English proficiency and those with disabilities can bring an individual of their choice to give in-person assistance. But the helper cannot be a voter's employer or their union or an agent of either entity for obvious
That
reasons.
seems like a reasonable restriction.
Yes, 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 yes. All right, well, now the game is getting interesting. So, Holly, the next question is yours.
Jerry, what for 400, please?
All right. What is an independent redistricting commission?
We already mentioned it before, so it's cheating a little bit. There are states that allow independent commissions to draw the lines for districts for voting. I think less than a dozen still, but those are done. They're appointed by different formulas, and they draw the boundaries for districts.
Yes. It's a redistricting body that is separate from the legislature that draws congressional and state legislative districts. So it's a trend that is moving up as far as different states. There are some states where the redistricting powers are held solely in the legislature, which it's an interesting
Well, which
conflict
is
of
a
interest.
legal battle going on right now, is
Right.
whether congressional districts can be drawn by an independent commission, or does it have to be the legislature because of the Constitution?
Right. So,
So we're going to give Jason the points anyhow.
yes, we are.
But we're going to be good good sports about it.
Okay.
All right, Jason.
All right. Things that start with P for 200.
All right. What is a provisional ballot?
That is a ballot which you are allowed to cast if there is a question as to your registration, your residency, and things like that, where the ballot will only be placed in a sealed envelope and the ballot will only be counted after those questions have been cleared up, if they've been cleared up in your favor.
That is correct. It's a ballot that you can vote if your voter registration is called into question. The ballot will be sealed and segregated and not counted until your voter registration has been confirmed. Of course.
It's not just your voter registration, it's also the precinct where you're voting. It's both that you're registered and that you're voting in the right place. And that rule depends on jurisdiction as well.
Yeah, because Chicago, again, with over 1,000 precincts, people show up at the wrong place and go, hey, I insist on voting. Okay, you can go over here. No, okay, fine. Here's the thing, and in the end, your ballot won't count.
But I think it depends on the jurisdiction, right? I mean, so it might be that I didn't show up in my congressional district, but there's, a Senate race. So because I am a resident of Virginia, you can vote up ballot. You
But
just
then
can't
there's
vote down
also
ballot.
federal election only ballot we have in Illinois, so you only vote for that. So, and not the state or local races.
Is
So.
voting intentionally made difficult in Illinois?
We have a long history in Illinois. Actually, it's not so much intentionally made difficult. It was intentioned, again, why do we have so many precincts? Goes back to the days of the ward bosses who had precinct captains who knew exactly, you were supposed to have like 400 voters per precinct. So the precinct captain would know everyone. And you would come into the polling place. When I first did voting observation, I'd see this. We've cleaned it up a lot. That was back in the punch card day where they'd give you the punch card with the party palm card on top. And the judges would say, oh, we're just helping them out, making it more convenient, telling them who to vote for. Yeah, mind explodes, yeah. But yes, we're working hard to make it clean. And we're really good at it. But did I get that? I did.
You did.
Okay.
And I did give you the point.
Well, with a room full of lawyers, as soon as I get my points. All right, lawyers as change makers for 400.
I'm a transactional lawyer. How can I help to perfect democracy?
Poll Worker Inc. Join. Work at the polls.
Poll worker
Oh,
Esquire.
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 I said Inc. Wow. Yeah. Well, we're incorporating.
Yeah, that's,
Poll Worker
that's
Esquire.
well, they're transactional lawyers.
Come and
That's
work
what
at
they
the
want.
That's right. Exactly.
Let's talk about business
that was
law.
Yeah. You're intentional. Somebody run out and claim that
Exactly.
URL right now.
I mean, you can do that. You can use your
Yeah.
business and corporate background to help organizations attain nonprofit status, conduct board trainings, and other tasks that will ensure that organizations on the ground are in compliance with necessary ethics and other regulations, and you can be trained to support call center or other activities. So again, you don't need to be an election lawyer if you want to help and work in this space. So.
I don't think many lawyers who are election lawyers ever started out saying, I'm going to go to law school and be an election lawyer. You just kind of end up in this.
Who knew it existed? And Bill, when there are different roles. We've talked about working at the polls, but after elections, particularly in close elections, there's a lot of activity. How many of the people watching the vote in your world are lawyers, non-lawyers? Where do they come from?
Mostly are non-lawyers from various community organizations and things like that. But again, if there's a regularly in Chicago, we have audits, 5% audit, 5% of machines we audit all the ballots that went through it, and these other post-election activities where you need observers. And if you can have a lawyer there who maybe understands things better than the layperson, who may be very passionate but doesn't understand the law, much prefer the lawyer being there.
Follow-up question. Can you only do election protection work in the state where you're licensed? Practice law?
No.
No.
No, you can. I mean, you can't go into court,
Right.
you know. But you can. You know, I know. In fact, I know both political parties, the two leading political parties. Let me change that. If they know, like, because Illinois pretty much always goes one way, or in the last few elections, presidential election, they recruit lawyers from Illinois to drive up across the cheese wall and go up to Wisconsin, and and watch polls and the post-election stuff up there. So yeah.
Californians do in Arizona and Nevada. So if you're interested in seeing another state.
Yeah, and I know from conversations I've had with Jacqueline DeLeon at the Native American Rights Fund, they would love attorneys to go on reservations and help them with depositions or other tasks. So I think some places also, they need legal help.
I have one more thing, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No.
Pivot, sir. The one distinction you have to make is that in general, poll workers,
Yes.
the ones who are sort of government officials or designated government officials for the day, you do have to be a resident of the state where you are. Poll watchers are a totally different thing.
That's
Absolutely,
true. Yeah.
absolutely.
and the
Thank you for
other-
that distinction.
Practice tip to be careful of is unauthorized practice of law. There actually have been complaints against lawyers. There's a line between volunteering and helping get out the vote and actually practicing law. And so complaints have been filed against lawyers who showed up in court or an administrative hearing in another state.
And don't hand out your business card to the voters in
Yeah,
line.
that's right. T-shirt that says "I'm from out of state" probably would help you. Yeah.
All right, Jason, the next question is yours.
Oh, all right. Everyone's voice matters for 300.
All right. If you are under guardianship, can you vote?
I'm going to say that it depends on the guardianship, but in general, yes.
Well, generally speaking,
Oh.
well, you're
Yeah.
so generally speaking, historically, most individuals who have been placed under guardianship are unable to vote due to their mental impairment. And there's a move now, and it does depend
I was
what
about
kind
to
of
say, so that
generally
seems more like generally no.
Yeah, it
with,
is.
Generally,
it's
yeah.
with
Unfortunately,
exceptions
it's-
for
yeah,
for
it's-
some,
it's,
but
I think many people have been placed under guardianship. There's sort of a body of work coming around now where they didn't, because perhaps you should not be able to make financial decisions. Some people, have placed their children under guardianship knowing that, and then when it comes time for them to register to vote, they are only then discovering that the guardianship actually precludes them from voting.
Yeah.
So there's sort of a movement now and my understanding is it can be difficult once a guardianship is in place. It's not so easy as saying, I want to uncheck this box. So there are movements now going forward as far as this issue to either create a carve out, as you mentioned, in the guardianship, and also the notion that there are other things called such as supportive decision making where it's not quite as stringent as a guardianship. So unfortunately, that is one part as far as accessibility of the polls that I think there needs to be more work and study on.
Suddenly, I'm wondering whether Britney Spears was allowed to vote.
yeah.
right?
Well,
Probably
and
not.
I've done guardianships in the past, and there's certainly not like a registration of guardianship, so that wouldn't be necessarily tied to voter registration. So that I'm just thinking that that's now an enforcement issue of, okay, what are you going to do about the people who are under guardianships who, like, in theory should not have been able to vote, do this, but who's watching to make sure that they're not? Like, that's up to the guardians.
Right,
So,
right.
and could be used as ways to restrict their voting. So that's kind of sad food for thought.
Okay, you got that wrong,
Ooh.
but you still get to pick.
Oh, okay. I will do vote like you're in Oregon for 400.
All right,
please.
so let's close out this category. How do I know? So again, this is not just in Oregon, right? How do I know if my ballot has been received or counted?
As I tell all my business law students, the answer to any law question should be, it depends.
Yeah.
And in this case, it depends on what system you have. Illinois and a lot of states use high tech. We can track your ballot, and we even work with the much maligned U.S. postal system, where we can track it coming through the mail and know when it's coming in. So, but other states don't have all of that, and in which case you gotta, maybe go online or call or drop by your election authority and say, hey, did my ballot show up? But it depends.
And you would be correct. So, as you mentioned, many states have online ballot trackers, which can let you know when your ballot has been mailed and when it has been returned to the election authority. And Bill's point about it depends, it's a really good answer, actually, for perfecting democracy Jeopardy, because all elections are administered on the state and local level. They all differ. So there's no one size fits all, but, we just sort of want to talk about the issues.
See, yeah, that never would have occurred to me because I've never voted by mail because it's so easy in Wyoming to go vote in person.
You just drive your
registered
10
data.
miles.
Drive my 10 miles. There's usually parking. It's fine.
Tie up the horse. I'm
All
sorry.
right, Bill.
Okay, let's go with Jerry. What for 300?
All right.
Can't actually.
Does gerrymandering always favor a particular political party?
It depends. I would say generally yes, but sometimes it is for a particular candidate versus the party, or a particular demographic group, or things like that.
And is that the same for when the political parties were switched before the titles kind of changed? That we're still running along the same party in essence?
Okay. It depends.
Yeah, so it does depend, and I think generally what we will see, and sort of as Bill mentioned, gerrymandering gives advantage to a particular party over another. But to be clear, it's done in equally Democrat or Republican districts.
It's about incumbency is
Right.
what it's
Yeah.
about.
Right.
It's protecting your own.
Come look at the ward maps for the city of Chicago. You'll have things that are like 2 blocks wide but 10 miles long.
And it's important to underscore that in Illinois, for example, the legislature draws their own districts.
Right.
The city
Right.
of Chicago, the
City
council,
is a city council, yeah.
it's politicians picking their voters.
Oh yeah.
Right,
So as to keep their
Different
job.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Bill?
Lawyers as change makers for 200.
All right.
Finishing off that category.
I'm a litigator. What can I do to make a difference?
Litigate.
Keen grasp of the obvious there, Jason.
Yeah.
Maybe Sue.
You may be shocked at how much election law litigation there is. I mean, we all famously knew about what happened in the last election and our last president who had a 65 case losing streak. But actually, litigation does make a big difference after elections. Sometimes in the elections themselves, although election law generally tilts towards no change. That unless you can come into court and show that whatever you've observed can make the difference, not a difference, the difference in the race, most courts won't entertain the case because it's better to keep elections settled. That being said, there's all sorts of litigation afterward that might be about that race, but it also might be about a flaw found to make sure that next time there's an election, there's a change. So if you're a litigator, litigate.
Yep. So you can help with voting rights litigation cases. You can help take depositions and interview voters who are having problems voting. At the end of the day, your skill set can be used to make an enormous difference. All right.
It's getting close, guys.
Uh-oh.
Jason.
To vote or not to vote, I vote that Bill can't vote this time. 100.
100.
We're gonna
All right.
gerrymander right
Yeah,
here.
right. Yeah, exactly. We're going to
Sorry,
change
Bill.
the district.
I've just been gerrymandered out of this panel.
All right. Doesn't everyone have a driver's license or a government issued ID?
I'm I'm about to
Spoiler.
split the
Yeah.
the vote here, guys. No, not everyone does have a driver's license or a government-issued ID. Not everybody drives. This is strange from Wyoming, where it's inaccessible without a car. But
Or a
some
horse.
people, or a horse. But yeah, some people walk places. Some people have public transportation. I'm very, very jealous of that. So you don't necessarily have to have a driver's license to exist. And there are interesting restrictions on government-issued IDs in places. So it really does depend on your local area and how you're able to obtain that. That some, to even obtain a government-issued ID, that there are only certain days or certain parts of the month that those offices are open to be able to issue those. So it's not a everybody has one of these.
And some people are homebound, can't get out, and some folks don't have the money because they charge you for those things. So, yeah.
Right. And Holly, you are correct. So, according to the Brennan Center for Justice, as many as 11% of the population does not have the identification necessary to vote in some states. So, all right. So the last question before we go into Final Jeopardy is things that start with P for 100. Do I need photo identification to vote?
It depends. Depends on the state. Illinois? No. We compare signatures. A lot of states, you go next door to, I think, Indiana. Yes. So, depends.
And there you go. It depends on where you live. Some states require government-issued photo ID, others do not, and will accept non-photo identification. So it's very close. So now we move on to Final Jeopardy. And it occurs to me, I need, sorry, a paper and a pencil for you guys
that's
to
all right.
write your, I forgot, sorry.
Holly's
about that.
prepared.
Oh, Holly's prepared.
I got paper
Oh, she
over
even
here.
has 2 pens.
I
Oh,
do.
look at that.
Look at that.
Bill, do you have a pen? Yeah, I have it on here.
Put away my little list of things to look up later.
Bill, do you have a pen?
Yep.
Oh,
All
okay.
set.
Sorry.
All
All right.
set.
All right, ready for Final Jeopardy?
Yep.
All right. So here's the topic. Let's make democracy the winner. So Jason has 2,900 points. Holly has 1,500. Bill has 3,000. What's your wager?
Oh, I'm gonna
All or
put it
nothing?
all
All right, go for broke.
because I have nothing to lose.
And everything to win.
I don't think I can win with the points, but we'll see.
Yes, you can, because we could both blow it.
You could.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to.
Jason, what's your wager?
Well, because I know that Bill's strategic in accounting, that there's some number that I could blow, so I have to bet it all. Otherwise, I don't have a chance.
Bill?
And just to make it sporting, 3,000.
All right. You ready?
Ready.
So the question will go up, then you write your answers on the paper, and then we'll see how it comes. What do you think is the best way that lawyers and law students can serve as change makers to help perfect our democracy? I just started the timer, so I gave you extra time.
3 seconds. All right, ready? So people give the answers and then yeah. All right, so people give your answers and then I will give the answer. All right, why don't we start with Holly?
Volunteer to help with voting registration, voting, and promoting the information already available.
Very good. Jason?
All right, it's going to sound familiar. Volunteer and help everyone understand that elections work and are important. So, right.
All right. Bill?
2 words, get involved. Okay. Working at the polls is a great start. And what was the name of that website, Jason? Lawyers at the Polls, Inc.
Yeah, I've so butchered it.
Yes,
All work
is
best
a great.
way.
But yeah, get involved. Don't just stand back, but touch the stuff. Get involved there, and then go out and be. The next step, I say, is be an election evangelist. Go out and tell people, hey, the system works. Your vote really does count, and get down to the polls. So, get involved.
All right, let's see if any of you were correct. And the answer is everyone makes change in their own way, and every change, however incremental, brings us closer to our goal of perfecting democracy. So really,
we're all wrong? Is that what you're saying? We all got 0. Got some
No.
great parting gifts, though.
No, exactly. No, so really, as everyone said, there's so much that you can do to make a difference. So just please get involved and do what you do, and it will only help the process. So everyone gets their points. So Bill Creasy, you are the perfecting democracy
Yes, but
champion today.
in a sense, aren't we all winners? Look,
In
give
a sense.
yourselves applause. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed our program.